Theory by Jason Delgado and William Calero. Chapter 4. The Front Office. John Vandermark stood in his opulent office, the weight of the world seemingly pressed into the lines of his weathered face. The enormous floor-to-ceiling windows framed the sprawling city below, where the afternoon sun gleamed off skyscrapers and cast long angular shadows across the polished marble floor. The office was a study in wealth and precision. Dark mahogany shelves lined with leather-bound books, a sleek desk with not a paper out of place, and subtle accents of gold that caught the light just enough to suggest power without ostentation. He stood motionless at first, his tall, thin frame almost statuesque against the glowing cityscape. But there was an unease in him, a barely restrained energy that betrayed the stoicism of his angular, almost skeletal features. His long fingers fidgeted at his sides, tapping an uneven rhythm against his thigh. For all his calculated control, the man was unnerved. The silence was broken not by sound but by movement. The heavy oak door to his office swung open, its well-oiled hinges betraying no creak. Vandermark didn't turn. He didn't need to. The presence entering the room was impossible to ignore. Verdius stepped in, a towering figure draped in a black leather trench coat that brushed the floor with every deliberate step. His boots struck the marble with a muted thud, the sound resonating like a heartbeat in the otherwise still room. The man exuded menace, his massive frame dominating the space, as if the air itself grew heavier with his arrival. Vandermark's calculated gaze flashed to the intruder's reflection in the glass before he turned, his movements measured but deliberate. Verdius approached silently, his broad shoulders seeming to absorb the dim light, and extended a hand. In it was an envelope, sleek and black, its surface adorned with an intricate, almost hypnotic symbol etched in gold. The edges of the envelope glimmered faintly, a subtle indication of the electronic seal that secured its contents. For a moment Vandermark simply stared at it, his expression unreadable. Then, with a practiced motion, he retrieved the envelope, his long fingers brushing the embossed surface. The seal glowed faintly as his fingerprint unlocked it, the symbol dissolving into a material like ink, seeping into paper. The contents inside appeared to be nothing, a blank card, but Vandermark's expression didn't falter. Instead, he reached into the inner pocket of his tailored jacket and retrieved a device, an elegant monocle with a lens that emitted a faint, ethereal glow. Verdius tilted his head ever so slightly, his curiosity breaking through the stony mask he wore. He watched in silence as Vandermark held the monocle to his eye and brought the lens close to the blank, opaque card, its surface a deep, velvety purple, dark as the space between the stars. As the light hit the plastic, words began to emerge, shimmering like whispers caught in twilight, pulled from the depths of the unseen. The hidden message unfolded line by line, revealing secrets that no ordinary eyes were meant to see. Vandermark's rigid posture relaxed ever so slightly as he read, the tension in his shoulders easing, a subtle wave of relief washing over his face, and for the first time that day, his lips curled into a faint smile. Though it was a smile devoid of joy, it was the smile of a man who had been handed a reprieve, however temporary. He lowered the monocle, handing the card back to Verdius with the faintest nod of approval. "Thank you, Verdius," he said, his voice low but steady, each word measured. "It is time." Verdius inclined his head in a gesture of respect, his massive frame moving with surprising grace as he turned and exited the room, his coat trailing behind him like the shadow of a storm. Vandermark followed for a moment, the envelope in his hand. His expression had changed. No longer stoic, no longer wary. Now it carried the grim determination of a man who knew his next steps, who would see them through, no matter the cost. A helicopter descended onto a sprawling green field, its blades chopping rhythmically through the air and sending ripples through the perfectly manicured grass below. The estate that stretched before it was a spectacle of old-world wealth. Mansion after mansion, each glistening with the kind of history that spoke not only of power, but of generations of influence meticulously maintained. As the helicopter settled, the rhythmic hum of its blades gradually calmed. 3 butlers dressed in crisp white coats stood in formation, their posture immaculate, ready to greet the arriving guests with practiced precision. Vandermark stepped out, his demeanor exuding confidence, his back straight as if he carried the weight of authority itself. Without hesitation, the butlers moved to escort him, leading him towards the grandest structure on the estate. The mansion's towering stone walls, adorned with crawling ivy, seemed to gaze down imperiously. Vandermark's polished shoes clicked sharply against the cobblestone path as they approached. The butlers guided them through the opulent interior, their movements as measured as a clock's mechanism. The scent of aged wood and polished marble filled the air as Vandermark passed towering portraits of stern-faced ancestors, their painted eyes seeming to track his every move. Finally, they arrived at the heart of the estate, the primary meeting hall. Here the air grew heavier, laden with the weight of secrecy and purpose. With a synchronized bow, the butlers opened the grand double doors, revealing the imposing space beyond, as if inviting Vandermark to step in to the very core of power itself. The cavernous meeting room stretched out before him, its sheer scale designed to overwhelm. Marble pillars soared toward the high ceiling, their polished surfaces reflecting the muted glow of ornate chandeliers. At the room's center stood a tremendous circular table, its dark wood gleaming under the soft light. The walls were a gallery of Renaissance art, scenes of gods, battles, and triumphs, each piece a reminder of a time when power was unapologetically wielded by those with wealth and cunning. Vandermark stepped forward, his gaze sweeping across the room. Seated around the table were 5 men, each in their 60s, impeccably dressed in tailored suits that seemed to radiate quiet dominance. Their bearing was commanding, their expressions inscrutable. Yet it was their eyes that struck Vandermark the most, sharp, almost unnatural in their intensity, as if they could see through the facade of the world and into its hidden truths. These were the heads of the front office, the unseen rulers of the world. The men turned to greet Vandermark, acknowledging him with nods before gesturing for him to take a seat at the table. He did so, his face calm, his movements deliberate. The others followed suit, each man settling into his chair, their gazes fixed on Vandermark. One of the men, a tall, drawn figure, with a skittering tone to his voice, addressed Vandermark. His name was Smith Hausman.
Are you here to atone for allowing our position to be compromised?
Hausman's voice was sharp, a hint of accusation behind the words. Vandermark met his gaze without flinching.
No,
he replied, his tone persistent.
I'm here to redeem and reclaim.
A murmur spread among the members, their expressions shifting, curiosity mixed with skepticism. Hausman leaned forward slightly.
And how do you intend to do this?
Vandermark flashed a confident, knowing smile.
I have found the machine.
The murmurs grew into a full-blown chatter, a wave of reaction sweeping across the table. Questions overlapped, and through the voices, Hausman pressed on, his urgency clear.
Where? How?
But Vandermark only smiled, offering no immediate answer.
Thank you for listening, and buy your copy of Theory today. Available on Amazon. Copyright 2025, Jason Delgado, William Calero, all rights reserved.